cheap ass. You know, I'm like, damn.
You heard it here first.
Right,
Joe Rogan
right.
listens
Joe Rogan.
on our podcast.
Right, we're the best. You know, they say people that cuss are more honest. So I'm an honest motherfucker. Put the fish away.
Should be able
Reggie.
to find it now. To give birth in.
Not for me.
You see it on there? Nothing to it.
Okay.
Let's do it. Come on. I'm ready. I want to do it.
I wear thongs. I got one on right now. You want to see?
Jimmy and Geek. Madhouse Bar Talks, baby.
That is a bunch of shit, if you ask me. That ain't make no sense.
All right. Today's special guest is the legendary Don Foose.
Hey, what's up?
I always called you Foosey.
Foosey, Foosball, the Dalai Lama.
How does it really get
Foose.
said, though?
Foose.
Foose. That's it.
Like
Just
foosball.
Foose.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Easy.
And he
That
is.
monitor's not on, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's not really a monitor. It's just a iPad here. Oh, it went out. What the heck?
It was.
What the heck happened there? All right. Let me find you. We're going to do this right on air. Here we go.
Right. Keeping it pro.
That's the way it should be. There
Yeah.
you go.
There we go. Okay, cool.
As it should be. Hopefully it stays
I don't
up
think
there.
it's live, but it looks good.
It's a little delayed. I mean, it will go a little
No,
delayed.
that's fine.
But that's just the way it is. So Don Foose is the lead singer of the band One Life All
One Life All In.
Life All In. There you go.
That's why I brought this, so we can.
One Life All In. And this is for the people that aren't into the heavier. What do you consider yourself? Punk, heavy metal, rock,
Hardcore, crossover. We when we formed this band, it's a project I do in Lyon, France, with a bunch of Frenchies. So when we put it together, we wanted to make sure that you couldn't really put a label on it. But generally speaking, it's from the hardcore community.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
So here's just a little quick example, real quick. We're going to give people a little bit of an example here. I don't know why that's chopping out.
It's playing slow.
It's chopping out. I don't know what's going on there. It's so aggravating.
It's playing slow. It sounds like the Michelin Man singing.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's not how it's supposed to sound?
Not supposed to sound like that.
Wonder what went on. That's so weird.
I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm loading up our videos and at the same time, and maybe it's too much for my internet. Possibly.
Yeah, you can check it out on YouTube. That particular song was called Letter of Forgiveness, and that's off the Letter of Forgiveness EP that I have right here. So if you check that out, it's one of my favorite albums I've ever done, though.
Really?
Yeah.
That's it. I've got to say, I was fascinated when I met you.
Yeah?
Years ago, as a laborer. You were laboring for Maroose Brothers.
Yeah.
And we met, and I found you to be fascinating at the time.
It's true. I'm a strange motherfucker.
Well, I think the first thing that I realized when you were vegan, and my mother had just probably maybe a year in to being vegan. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of interested in a little bit because my mom had been doing so much better health-wise.
Yeah.
From that aspect of it, so that right away got my interest, and you were just releasing that book, Raw.
Raw Life, yeah.
Yeah, Raw Life. Yeah, Raw Life.
I always bring my promo stuff, so when we're talking about it,
we could show people
can see the visual.
Yeah.
This book I wrote, and I released it in 2014, but it was a lifetime of, recipes and digging up knowledge from the great sages of raw life and raw foods and vegan foods and elixir crafters, so I put it all into one book.
How long have you been doing that?
I met John Joseph, my friend from the Cro-Mags, lead singer of the Cro-Mags. I met him in 1994 when the Spud Monsters, my band I was in at the time. We went on tour with the Cro-Mags. He introduced me to a whole spectrum of a life I never knew about. You know, he was a strict vegetarian at the time. He was doing martial arts. He was juicing. I never knew the art of juicing, you know, putting through fruits and vegetables through a masticating machine that just spits out the juice out one side and then the pulp goes out the other side. And, you know, and it was like, wow, man, all I ever got was stuff that was bottled, homogenized, and, you know, sold in stores and meant to be on a shelf for a month. But he's like, yo, we got to drink this within 8 hours or it turns to shit. I'm like, all right. And I drank that stuff. It was just so great. And it's like, I knew my life changed once I met him.
No kidding. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, he turned me on to Eastern philosophy, eating right. And, you know, I just, you know, he really changed my life so much. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But and it changed my mom. I know for sure. She definitely got a lot of health benefits from it. But, you know, now she doesn't need that because now we got Ozempic. So, you know, you eat whatever you want, just take Ozempic.
Keep telling yourself that. And then in the morning, you line up that pill bottle thing that's got like 15 different pills and just take them.
See, I don't take pills at all. Like, I don't take any. Like, the most I do is, I take a heavy dose of caffeine. I drink a lot of coffee. So, I mean, I do have that in me, but, and nicotine, obviously. I smoke a lot. But
well, back in the day, before there was modern medicine, Dr. Pepper was actually an elixir that was made of 23 herbs and spices and minerals and all this stuff. And, you know, through the years, some of the herbs got thrown out, and then, you know, things like high fructose corn syrup and all the crap that, you know, it's really terrible for you, you know, snuck its way in, you know, processed sugar and all that stuff. So, like I said, Dr. Pepper at one time was like, you know, had real pepper in there, and it was meant to chase out intestinal worms and stuff like that.
Oh, no kidding. I didn't know that. I never knew that.
Coke was made from the cocoa plant, you know, and it was, you know, meant for many reasons. Ginger ale was ginger that was treating ailments of the body and the mind and stuff, you know, so it's good for cleansing and, you know, keeping the immunity up and all that. You know?
So are you excited about Robert F. Kennedy Jr.?
Yeah, to a certain degree. I just saw a thing with him on the internet where he was eating at McDonald's, and it's like
I saw it too.
All right,
he's on the plane.
To a certain degree, he's got the right idea, but he's not committed 100%.
See, I'm on this like I'm on a different level than I'm not an extremist of anything. So therefore, I'm not an extremist when it comes to diet. I'm not an extremist when it comes to religion. I'm not an extremist. But I am one that I look at it, I go, okay, you can benefit a lot by understanding this, you know what I mean? And understanding that your whole diet could be adjusted. You definitely don't need to be cramming your body full of meat, and you don't need to cram your body full of sugar, and you can benefit from, you know, throwing a couple vegetables in and eating a little less meat and,
right,
you know, things like that. Like I grew up, I grew up in it. We really didn't eat a lot of meat in my house. I didn't even know that growing up. I didn't realize that till I was older. My grandmother one day made, it was something I really wanted. It was called what was it? Tostadas. She used to make, and that was one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
And I had her make me them when I was an adult, and she makes it, and I'm like, where's the meat? She goes, there's no meat. What are you talking about? There never was meat. I eat it. Sure enough, it tastes just like it always did.
Yeah.
And she goes, yeah, we rarely, like, we used meat to flavor the beans and stuff like that because that's just how it was for, you know, a big family and old hillbillies, and, you know, you just did what you could. So the bacon went in the beans, and, you know, you ate that, and that's how we ate.
Yeah.
So I've always liked vegetables anyway, so you know what I mean? But I definitely want my steaks and stuff like that. I mean, I do. And I mean, I don't think that it's horrible to have. I just think that limiting it, you know, like in the book, Forks Over Knives, when they talk about the amount of meat we eat today compared to 100 years ago. I mean, that to me is where it comes from.
Well, delicatessens were known because meat was a delicacy at one time. Only the rich were able to eat meat.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't something like, you know, you didn't have a Taco Bell and a KFC up the road and all this stuff available for, you know, takeout, so it's like, we have flat teeth. You see rabbits, cows, horses, look at any animal that has flat teeth. They're herbivores.
Yeah.
You look at animals that have fangs, and they are carnivores. So there's scientific proof that because we have a body fit for herbs, we should be taking them. We have real long intestinal tracts. But, animals that have real short intestinal tracts, they're the ones with the fangs. Because meat goes in there, it doesn't have time to putrefy, get rancid or anything. And that's what's creating a lot of these ailments, the diseases.
The gut health. I always hear about the gut health a lot.
Yeah. So, the animals that have those short intestines have the fangs, and they have bodies fit for consuming meat. We don't. We have long intestines. That food goes in there, and it just makes its way around the intestines, and by the time it comes out, it's creating all kinds of havoc in the body. So we see a lot of heart disease in this world. We see a lot of stuff happening because of the people aren't educated about this stuff. A plant-based diet equals health. It just does.
Yeah, when my mom first became vegan, one of the things that stood out was my Uncle Dale. I had spent some time with him. At the time, he had retired from Ford, and he was in Kentucky. And I went down there and visited him in Kentucky, and then come back here. He bought a bar down here when he retired. So he'd go back to his house once a week or once a month for a week, and then he'd come back. And I'd go down there with him. The whole time we're down there, he's ribs and steaks, and that's all he did. And then he was already had cancer once. Mm. Then all of a sudden he ends up with stomach cancer, and then my mom has this go on and starts the vegan, and then I watch Forks Over Knives. Then I meet you, after that. So all that had already happened when I met you. So I definitely had already had some interest. So that became part of why it was so interesting to me. The other part, obviously, you're a rock star. I mean, you've traveled the world. I mean, you really have. I mean, in all honesty, at the end of the day, you could think of a Bon Jovi or somebody like that, or, somebody who's got that huge, huge name. But at the end of the day, every musician, really, all they want to do is go travel the world and sing and have people love their music. And you're doing it. And you're doing it at a pretty high level. That's quite impressive, actually.
Well, thank you. It started off at a young age, too. In 1989, I joined the Spud Monsters, the band that I had gotten into. And it was pretty intense because I got in that band. I played around with other bands before, but that was the first real serious band I got in. Chris Andrews, the leader of the band, he was our guitarist. He owned Chris's Warped Records and all these other stores. He was a real businessman, but he was a real pro's pro. So anything he did in life was always really serious, and he really put himself 110% into it. So he said, if you're going to join this band, it's got to be your religion. You got to really be sincere and serious about this. And I said, I'm all in. So we were practicing every single day, sometimes even on Sundays. So the work ethic was insane. And we had this big long set list thing, a big, huge piece of paper that went from the ceiling down to the floor, and it was all the songs that the band had. And at that time, there was probably 40 songs, so we would go through just about all the songs, whatever songs we would be playing on the set. And there were no breaks between songs unless they had to tune real quick, but it was always, hey, let's tune real quick. We got to go. Because we're practicing to entertain live. So being a part of that was really cool, learning how to be a professional, doing everything. And one of my biggest peeves is you go to see a band, the end of the song, it's all silent. Everyone's tuning up. The singer's over there getting some water, and nobody's.
The engineer's out plugging something in, or
yeah. But people want to be entertained, and they don't want to take the time to take a break themselves. They want constant entertainment. So I learned that from a very young age. That just stay busy out there. Keep entertaining, keep working the crowd. Mention people that in the crowd. Thank the bands that are opening. Thank the clubs, for putting on the shows and everything. Mention the promoters. Mention the album that you have coming out and all this stuff. So every show, every interaction that I had with the public, I learned more and more how to be professional. And then there was a time when we did the South by Southwest Music Festival.
Oh, wow. No, that's a big show, yeah.
Yeah, so all the big bands in the area, in the Cleveland area, that were going to be, that had some buzz with record labels. What they would do, all the record labels would come out to this big festival, A bunch of different clubs would have shows, and there was a itinerary. Hey, this band's playing at this club at this time, and then everyone would go to this other club. So we played that, and there was somebody, I think it was from Atlantic Records, they came out to the show, and they said, they would do seminars between shows. So I went to this seminar by Atlantic, I believe it was at Atlantic Records, and they said, this is how to be a professional band. When we get demo tapes from bands that, want us to sign them, we want to be entertained. We want to know, we want to be impressed. So he said, one time a band sent them this big manila envelope, and somebody in the band must have been a really great artist, so they painted it like silver and made it into a fish. And he said it looked so cool. It had these really cool scales on it. It was amazing. He said, I felt really guilty opening the package because it was so beautiful. But at Atlantic Records, they're getting hundreds of demos every day and press packs from people that want them to sign the band. He goes, but I was drawn to that first and foremost because it was really professional. It was beautiful.
You talk about that in your newest book. The newest book that you got is Motivate Me.
Yes.
And I've got that one there.
Yeah.
That's Motivate Me. Yeah. Now, and you talk about that in that book. And Motivate Me, it's cool. Because I've never seen anybody do what you did with that book. It's wild. So you say it's just a book of inspirational quotes, basically.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's your life story.
Life lessons, too.
Yeah, life lessons, yeah. But it's your life story at the end of the day, correct? I mean, isn't that how you see it?
Some of them are. And then some of them are just things that really inspired me, and I hope that it can inspire other people as well. So, yeah, the book...
It tells your story, though. It does tell your story.
Some of it, yeah.
Not all of your story, I'm sure.
There's still more books in me.
You keep some secret in there?
Not so much secrets, but it's just a lot. My life's been... quite a roller coaster.
Well, it's wild to watch you on stage. You're so intense, and like the air foozy, you know what I mean? Like you're flying around. It's wild to me because when I met you, you were just like, you're so calm. You're so like at peace. It's, I don't know if that's a performance or this is.
Well, the calm before the storm, it's like, I do my workout, and I boxed for a long time too. I was a boxer. So like, I get my workout on. I go in intense, and it's that thing.
I guess so. I don't know why it acts up sometimes.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like it went out in the monitor. A little bit, not too bad.
It will.
Oh. But anyway, I try to work out really hard whenever I'm preparing to do a tour or even a small run of shows. I want to make sure I'm in the best shape possible because I want to give it all I've got, because when I'm on stage and I'm singing, I really believe in the lyrics that I wrote. So it is an emotional time for me up there, and seeing people in the crowd singing the words that I've written and them believing in it and joining in with me, it really gives me this burst of energy. So it's like, it's not like I'm up there just entertaining, pretending I'm some dude from another band. It's like me really feeling it, And that's where the intensity comes from. I was inspired by like Bad Brains and like the Cro-Mags. These bands that were really intense.
Yeah.
Made you want to jump out of your skin, as Flea would say,
Jump out of your skin. Yeah. I know, like, one of the first things opening up the book was the story you tell about it's Twisted Sister, right?
Yeah.
Twisted Sister, you're going in, you're a kid, right? How old?
Yeah, I was probably 17, 18, 16, 17, 18, whatever. It was in high school.
Was that Richfield then?
Yeah.
So you're at the Coliseum.
With my buddy Dave Nemeth. He was my best friend at the time and still.
Where's he at now?
My boys. He's down in Northport, Florida. That's my dude.
Oh, yeah.
One of my best friends ever, man, and I love the guy. He's one of those guys on my one hand that I can call anytime, and I know he's there for me. Brothers for life. I used to call him Scar, and he'd call me Spike. I had spiked hair, and he had a big scar because he crashed his Camaro stole his mom's Camaro and crashed it and had all this fiberglass up his body. But
it seems, I mean, it's so awesome. Like, first of all, that story is probably one of the cool, like, for any 18-year-old, like, that's probably the coolest shit ever.
Well, you know, we go into the Coliseum. We had been drinking all day. We were young, you know. That's what people do. And Twisted Sister's going to be playing. And, you know, although we were drinking, I had to piss. It had been a while since we were standing in line. I'm like, let's find the first pisser and get in there. We get in there. Place is already packed. And some hillbilly guys got a jean jacket on with all these patches all over it, like Saxon and all these band patches all over. I'd never seen that before. I'm like, oh, look at that guy. And then he's bent over with his hands on his knees, and he's just barfing all over the front of the bathroom entrance. So I was like, man, we gotta go somewhere else. So we walked all the way down to the far end of the hall, and it was a less traveled bathroom. And I went into the stall, and I closed the stall, and I see these laminates hanging there with a lanyard, you know, and the mag light taped onto it. What's that? And it said Twisted Sister Crew. It said Stay Hungry Tour and all that stuff on there. I was like, man, we just hit the jackpot. So I got done pissing. I told Dave, I'm like, dude, check this out, man. I'm like, let's go try and get it, you know, backstage. He's like, I don't know, man. And he was kind of reluctant at first. And I'm like, come on, man, let's go for it. All right. You know, so we go down there, and I show the guy, you know, the bouncer or whatever. He's right there, and
security
guy, yeah, staff. And so he sends me through. I'm like, holy shit, that's great. Come on, dude. And he holds him up. He's like, where's your pass? I go, he's with me. He's like, all right. So we go back there, and I just remember going down this long concrete corridor hallway and seeing an itinerary of the band, set times, and what time dinner was, and sound check and all this. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And then we saw this room, Twisted Sisters dressing room, and we just kind of like, there were all kinds of people there, media folks, people from the Coliseum, a bunch of groupies hanging out, whatever, people hanging out, and Dee Snider's sitting there thumbing through a magazine, just chilling. He's got his gear on and stuff. I'm like, whoa. And he seemed so tall, because I didn't realize he's a really tall dude, you know. So we're just kind of hanging around, kind of helped ourselves to some pizza. There was pizza boxes and stuff. We're just hanging around like flies on the wall, just watching this all go down. And then somebody popped their head in there, and, hey, 15 minutes, guys, or whatever. And they start clearing out the room. I'm like, oh, crap, we kicked out. So we followed the roadies kind of up to the side of the stage. And they went up on the stage, and we walked up there, too. We were just going for it, you know. Say anything, and then eventually the band comes out. Dee Snider comes walking up by me, and we're like, no way, you know. And next thing you know, the curtains come down. He goes out there, he's like, hello, Cleveland, you know. And we're just, and the lights right there, and then I was like, man, that's the moment I realized I wanted to be a singer, you know. Like,
so you didn't sing before that, or you did?
No, not really. Just into the mirror, jump around on a bed with a airbrush, you know.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
So that's what made it so wow. And it's cool because, but that story in itself is cool. I mean, any of us at 18 years old had that experience. That's a great experience. You could have been a laborer the rest of your life, and that would have been a great story to tell.
Well, the cool thing about that story is many years went past since that had happened, and I got into the Spud Monsters. We started touring around Europe with huge bands like Biohazard, Clutch, Propane, Life of Agony, you know, just big bands all around, DRI. So we did a Spud Monsters reunion album in 2010, and we were going to do a big tour. We had some festival offers where we were going to be opening for, there was a show we were playing, opening for Black Sabbath, a show with Ozzy and Friends. That's what they ended up calling it, because I think that they were having issues with money. So Guns N' Roses played, you know, Megadeth played. There were all these big bands, a big festival, kind of like Woodstock. So we ended up playing this one.
And this is in Germany, right?
No, that was in, I believe that was in Belgium.
Belgium. That's not Germany?
No.
No, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry.
No, we play all over Germany.
Belgium sounds like Germany.
No, Germany's like the size of Texas, and there's like all these places we play in Germany. we got a lot going on in Germany through those years. But anyway, we were playing this big festival, and at the end of you could see the video. That's also, I wrote about that in the book Motivate Me. That's in the Dee Snider story.
Mm-hmm.
We're at the end of our set, and I start inviting the crowd. I'm like, come on, our stage is your stage. Come on up here. And everyone starts coming up, and all the bouncers are like, no, security. Like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, it's on me. Don't worry about it. So all of these people are coming up, and it just turns into absolute pandemonium. So if you look it up on YouTube, the video is called Spud Monsters On Stage Mosh or something like that. And,
On Stage Mosh. Okay.
Yeah. So at about 3 minutes into the video, you see me inviting all these people, and it just turns into holy hell chaos, man. And I'm like, this is our last song, Isolation, and I scream, Isolation, and you see all these people, and then the dude holding the camera, he goes, it's getting out of control. Yeah. So then people just start diving off the drum riser on top of each other, jumping off monitors on top of each other.
In the book, you say you get nervous then, huh?
Yeah, because I'm thinking there's about 400 people on this stage, and I'm thinking this is going to collapse. People are going to die. Yeah, this is going to be like Great White Part 2, something hellish is going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's chaos. And right at the end of the song, I'm on top of people, and I look over, and Dee Snider is in the back of the corner, stand behind, like a guitar amp, and he's like, fuck, yes.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So after I went over, and there's a picture of me in the book with him.
What's the years in between that?
Oh, God, 1985 or 86, all the way till, that was, I think, 2012. I have the book right here. So,
man, that's crazy.
Yeah. So there's the picture. I don't know if you can see. That's after I got off stage, and I'm talking to him, hanging out, and I told him he
doesn't look so tall in the picture.
He's tall. He's probably down. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, he's probably getting old by then. He's starting to shrink.
Yeah, right, his back. So anyway, I'm telling him, man, dude, I told him my story that night about how I snuck in and saw them, and I was standing on the stage watching him, and I was really inspired. And then I was like, all these years later, tables turn, and it's like he's on the side of the stage watching me, and it was just so cool. I'm nothing to him, but he was just kind of checking out the band that was playing.
You're probably not as nothing as you think you are. I mean, is the biggest fan that you meet, like if you meet somebody right now, if you were to meet somebody and they said that they got turned, like they got turned on to music because of you, and they wanted to take a picture with you, that's not nothing to you. That's a big deal.
Yeah, I get that a lot, though. I'll say people be like, oh, that one album or that one song you wrote, really inspired me.
But I'm talking about the guy that's actually out there doing it now because of you.
There's some people, and that's always...
And they're not nothing to you, and you're not nothing to... I mean, it's just not. There's no way you're nothing to Snider. No way.
Well,
I mean, it's just
he probably doesn't remember me, but I told him that story. He's like, that's a cool story. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But whatever, and it was just a part of my rock and roll history that stood out to me. It was cool,
Yeah. Hey, have you, as you go, I know, the fame area, at one point was starting to become a thing when you were in Spud Monsters. You talked about it in the book with having, I think you were dinner with your dad, I think, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And it was pretty, you were excited not excited, but you were glad to have your dad just see it.
It validated all my struggles growing up, all my failures growing up, that I'm sitting there having dinner with him just after our first album came out. I just came back from a European tour, and this group of kids come into the restaurant, and they're like, hey, you're Don Foose. Oh, my God, we got your album out in the car. Or I got your album. Will you sign it and stuff? And my dad's looking at me like, what the hell is this? To me, that was cool because, growing up, I quit so many things. I failed in so many respects, and I wasn't really serious about a lot, I would start things and I'd stop. I never saw things
You didn't
through.
love them like you do this.
That's it. I found my passion. And that's where, you see the kickbacks to sticking it out, doing something that you love, and then you're just like, this is all worth it. And whenever you fall into, there's pitfalls in any career that you take on. It wasn't always like girls screaming on the side of the stage or whatever, and people asking me for autographs. There's also sleeping in moldy basements or something because we can't get a hotel or whatever. Or, eating whatever you can steal from a convenience store. There's some stuff that's not so glorious that a lot of people don't see.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure.
But whenever you get that validation right there, my dad's sitting there, he's not even understanding. He thinks I'm playing in a garage with some of my buddies. That's the extent of my being in a band. But then he finds out that, we're on MTV and that we're in Europe and people are asking me for autographs and stuff. And then it's like,
why do you think it is that Europe like in Europe, you're a rock star, no question. But in the U.S., it doesn't hit quite the same. Why is it that hard music really sends out there better?
Beats the hell out of me, but it's just the way it is there. Like once they like you, they'll always like you.
That's yeah. And I think that's true in the U.S. too. It's just.
Well, when we started going to Europe, we're seeing these young kids coming to the shows and they're buying our stuff. And then so many years later, we're seeing those kids come into the shows with their kids. And their kids are getting turned on to us, and they like us too. It's really odd.
That's pretty sweet.
And then I was in France one time, and some old dude with dreadlocks comes up to me. I'm like, this guy looks like he's 80 years old. Why is he skating? And this dude comes up to me and goes, dude, I used to skate to you when I was a kid. I'm like, oh, I'm really getting old.
Well, you know what? One of the things too that makes it I've never been on an airplane.
Really?
I'm 51 years old. I've never been on an airplane.
Yeah, you're not missing it.
So, to me, a guy that's been there so many times overseas, and I started to think like, first of all, the Spud Monsters thing was, it's a big deal. It was a big band. It was definitely, that's probably the biggest band you've been with, correct?
Yeah.
The Spud Monsters they were pretty big in that culture.
We got lucky, because we were really persistent in what we did. We would play shows all over the place and just push and push and push. And then we ended up, our bass player, Joe Kilcoyne, ended up got on with some band called Mystic, and they somehow got discovered by a German record label called Massacre Records. So they signed them to like a 2-album deal or something like that. And then Joe was like, hey man, crossover hardcore, kind of like Biohazard and all that stuff, was just starting to really get big at that time. He's like, hey, here's a band that you guys would really like. I used to be in the band, but they're really blowing up in America and in Cleveland, most notably. So they got a hold of us and said, hey, we want to sign you to a 3-album deal and then come over to Europe and tour, and we'll do the album.
What was that the first time you went to Europe and did that whole deal? I know you talk about it a little bit in the book, but
yeah,
that's
so exciting.
Yeah,
just being on that airplane and they're coming down there with the little thing. And they're like, "Would you like anything to drink?" And like, how much is it? And they're like, "It's free." I'm like,
what year is this?
That was 1992, and that was originally we were supposed to go to Europe and open for a band called Mucky Pub from New York.
Okay.
I think they're New York or New Jersey, and they were a big band in Europe at the time because they had played with Biohazard over in Europe, and they were really big. So that tour got canceled at the last minute. We were totally bummed out. So the promoter, his name was Carlos Fleischman, he said, don't bum out. I have another tour for you guys. It'll be bigger than ever. It's this band, Biohazard, and they're blowing up on the Urban Discipline tour. There's going to be a lot of people at these shows. So we're like, hell yeah. So it was like maybe 14 shows, something like that in Europe. So we jumped on it. And when we got there, our first show was in an airport hangar in Munich, Germany. And
how many people?
Probably like 2,000.
Okay.
And it was packed in there. And we're getting ready to go on stage. I tell this story a lot, but I love the story. So Evan from Biohazard goes, hey, man, these Europeans, they just want to check you out. So just go nuts up there, man. Do everything, and don't worry if they don't clap. Don't worry if they don't dance. They're just checking you out. That's what they're like. So I was like, okay. So we go out there, and I'm all charged. I'm like, you motherfuckers ready or what? And I just go and I dive out in the crowd, and we just went off, and the crowd went crazy for us. And it was awesome.
That's
So,
awesome.
I'm coming off the side of the stage after we're done, and I look down the hallway, and it looks like there's a big schism going on out there. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And Evan's like, yo, bro, those people are fighting to get to your merch stand. And we're like, get the hell out of here. And we look over there, there's all these people buying shirts, CDs. Our record label made Frisbees with the Spud Monster guy on there, and they had Spud Monsters beer, Spud Monsters potato chips, they had posters, everything. It was so cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we,
And do you guys still sell albums?
well,
Or a little bit? Or do you get anything from that? Any of it?
One Life All In was going to put our latest release on vinyl, but the vinyl plants are backed up now because everyone wants to print vinyl now, but very few places print vinyl. You know, there's
Okay.
only a couple of vinyl plants that I even know of. So we just put them out on CD and digital and stuff like that, even some cassettes.
Cassettes.
Yeah, I know. People
How
are
would you
collecting
play
those
that?
now, too.
I'll be
I know.
honest with you. You gave me the CD so I could listen to it. And I'm like,
I know. It's like handing somebody a Morse code machine. You know?
yeah, like, what am I going to do with this? I don't have a CD player. Like, I don't even know where my last CD, I can't even think. Like, I'm trying to remember, and then I thought about it actually when you were on your way here today. I was like, I actually have a DVD player, I think, down in my family room, maybe.
Yeah. You could put them in the side of your computer, too. And
Not my computers.
oh, right. Well, I have a little thing that you plug into the back, and you could just put stuff in there and play them.
Yeah, I used to have them,
Play
but now
movies.
anymore, I don't even have that. Now they don't even have that on there.
Yeah.
I'm ancient. Yeah, me too. I get it. I mean, floppy disk were my jam back in the day.
Yeah, me too.
No, I just always wondered like how that, and what that was like, that first, experience where you're in overseas, which you're so far from home for one.
Well, that was the other thing, we come off stage and there's these beautiful girls standing there, and they look like supermodels, and they're like, oh, we would like to know if you and your band would like to come and make party at our flat. And
how many STDs have you had?
I haven't. Listen, most of the time when I was on tour, I had a significant other.
Oh, really?
And plus,
okay.
Whenever you're on tour, like for me, it's business. I'm not there. I never, like, even whenever I did drink.
Most of the rock stars, though, are like just tearing through pussy. They just
I'm
are.
drinking traditional medicinal tea so that
you're not drinking either,
my instrument, my voice will be okay the next day.
I had a friend growing up that actually was pretty big in country music at one time. He actually sang at the Grand Ole Opry, and he sings around here now. His name's Terry Goffey. He sings like right now. What he does, it's called Men in Black. It's a tribute to Johnny Cash, and he sang on stage with Hank Snow back years ago. He's an older guy. This is an older. I mean, was my girlfriend's dad actually when I was in high school.
Yeah.
But he worked at a radio station, and he always told me that blackberry brandy was something to smooth out your throat. If you ever have it coarse, he would say blackberry brandy. He would say, I don't know.
Well, that's what
I
they
try
say,
it here and there.
I was always into fitness. I was always training, boxing, and stuff like that. I didn't want to be a part of the nightlife. My band would be in the back of the bus, partying, playing cards, smoking, all this stuff, and I'd be in the front of the bus, reading and talking to the bus driver, hanging out, or sleeping,
Yeah.
But that's not to say that I lived a boring life, because I saw so much on the road. I saw a lot of stuff. And for me, when that bus pulls up to the club in the morning and everyone's all hungover and sleeping back there, I'm grabbing a couple bottles of water, grabbing my camera, and I'm going out and seeing everything there is to see in that town and village,
Yeah. What's the coolest thing you think you've seen overseas?
God, just playing in front of those crowds, seeing these people screaming for us.
I get that. I know that's going to be amazing.
Stuff.
That has got to be amazing. But you could see that here if they were here.
Yeah, but going there and the crazy thing is, people inviting you into their homes and making lifelong friendships. To me, that's the most amazing thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
I can go to any major city in the world, pretty much, like mostly in Europe, and I can call somebody and say, hey, let's go have lunch. Let's get together and catch up on old times. And it's like knowing that you can go anywhere in the world and you have friends.
That's awesome.
To me, that's the greatest thing.
Yeah, that is a.
But
yeah.
I've seen some weird stuff. You know, we've seen crazy stuff. You know, like for me, one of the highlights being on tour was once when the bus driver was driving. You know, we got this big, huge tour bus that sleeps 18 people and has lounges in it and stuff. He's like, his name is Gary. He's like, "Hey, Foose, come take the wheel. I got to take a piss." Fuck yeah. So I'm driving this huge bus, and I got this big steering wheel, and I'm like, whoa. And I'm flooring it.
That's
I'm like,
awesome.
yeah, this is great. So he goes back there, and everyone's all back there partying. Gary's like, "What's up, guys?" And he goes into the bathroom like, "Whoa, who's driving the bus?" He's like, "It's cool. It's a straightaway." And they all come running up there, and I'm like, yeah. To me, that's cool, too.
That's awesome.
There's cool stuff like that. You know?
Yeah, that's awesome. My mom had a woman that she liked to follow that did music, and she did it all through crowdfunding. So she wouldn't charge anything for any of her concerts. She'd do crowdfunding, and then when she would go on tour, I wish I knew her name. I just remember her showing them to me. But she would go on tour and just like people would, you know, she'd put out a thing, "Hey, I'm going to be in, you know, Boston, and I need a place to sleep," and someone would give her a couch to sleep on, and that's how she would do it.
That's great. That's where it's at.
That's pretty cool, I think. Like, I remember thinking how cool that was, and also how dangerous it could be. But, I mean, you know, the world as a whole, I'm one of those people that believe in the best in people.
Yeah, me too, you know. Like, there's this one girl, her name is Mary Grebner. This girl just, all she does is go to concerts her whole life. She lives with her grandmother still to this day. You know, she's probably 45, 50 years old by now, but she's just an innocent, loving person. She shows up at our shows from out of nowhere with a bunch of stuff, gifts for us. She'll like cut out these little mandalas and give them to me, these little paper mandalas. I'm like, "Oh, there's another mandala, thanks." What a sweetheart, you know? And she'll show up and she's like, "I have my car if you and the band would like to go see some sights."
Oh, this is overseas?
Yeah, it's over in Germany.
Okay.
But it's like, what a cool person, you know? What a sweetheart, you know? And it's like you meet people like that, and it's everything.
Yeah, I would imagine it is. Plus, I mean, you met people that inspired you, like John Joseph. You know, that's something that. And I was watching and reading a little bit about him. That's an interesting guy. Holy crap!
Yeah, we're gonna have him on your show here coming up.
Awesome.
He said probably February would be good, so we'll nail down a date, and I'll maybe find a place where we could do a book signing for him too. I'll make it, you know, to where we can fill his whole weekend and.
Okay.
Worthwhile for him to come out, but yeah, what a great person, man. What a great soul. He changed my life so much.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's funny because he was on Joe Rogan and he was talking about, you know, obviously he was talking about, like you do, talking about the vegan diet and the Eastern culture and stuff. Yeah. And Joe Rogan really doesn't believe in. I mean, he's a meat eater for sure. He goes on it, but. I mean, you can't listen to what you two are saying without thinking, yeah, maybe there's something to it a little bit. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can't listen to it without understanding that. I know.
Like I said, there's a science to it. There's flat teeth and there's fangs. And look at the science behind it.
I don't argue that you're not. I mean, I don't know that. I just don't. I mean, the problem is that. The problem I have with it is that I just think everything is better in doses. You know what I mean?
It is.
That's my opinion of everything in the world.
Well, that's why I don't argue about religion. I don't argue about politics. I don't argue about your diet.
Yeah, I just did that. I just did an interview yesterday with a guy about, you know, wrote a book about Israel. And could you imagine, like, in Israel, like, you know, the Palestinians and the Israelis, and that they feel so strongly about that stuff. It's just, I can't even imagine. It's too much. It's too much. There's no reason to be that extreme on anything, I don't think.
I could remember 100 times in my life where I thought I knew it all. And now I realize I didn't. The more you go on in life, the more you learn, the more you realize that we're in this material world and it's a place of suffering, you know, and what we could do to minimize that suffering is what we should be doing, you know? So it's like, I'm not overly materialistic. I like to live a simple life. You know, I'm not.
Yeah, you said you want a tiny home.
I would love to build like a 400 square foot tiny home, but I'd like to stay in Bay Village. I love it there. But, you know, the city ordinance is, no less than 1,600 square feet to build a tiny home. And it's like, I don't want to build a 1,600 square foot house. I don't need that.
They think that's a tiny home. But
yeah, exactly.
I have a customer I'm building. His addition is 50 by 50. We put on his house.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's massive. And actually, you would probably you and him should probably meet. You would probably like him. He's a music producer. He has a recording studio and things like that. Scotty Campana is who it is.
Oh, okay.
But he sent me a video of a tiny home, and it was 1,400 square feet. I go, that is not a tiny house.
It's 3 tiny homes. That's a triplex.
Right. Yeah, that is definitely not a tiny home. But yeah, that's the mentality of it, and of a lot of people, they think that's a tiny home.
Yeah.
So what was the most, for you, out of the book, what do you think's the most interesting?
Most interesting thing in the book, I'd have to say, well, maybe all the motivational quotes that have been in there. That's what brought about the book. You went to go take a piss. So anyway, I'll take this time. Oh, did you hear that flush? He's already flushing. I usually ad-lib. He just left. I usually ad-lib to this kind of thing. But I'd rather talk to him. But he's taking a leak right now. And he's going to be back. There's the flush. I was just talking to the camera up there. I was like, he's taking a leak. I'm not even going to pretend like he's here. So,
well, I mean, like, what would you want somebody to take the most out of it? Like, from that book, for you to, like, what would be the most, like, you want them to get the most out of it? What would you think?
I think the philosophical aspect of it all, like, I always quote my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, because he taught me more than anybody.
How do you say it? I read it, but I never heard it.
Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhupada.
Yeah.
And who is that exactly?
He's a great spiritual master from India. He passed away back in the 70s at the age of 81. But he was the most selfless, simple person that came and, like, gave so much of himself. And, like, all this food for thought that I have and so many of these quotes and so much of the basis of these stories come from his teaching. So it's like, that's where it's at, like somebody lives simply but thinks on a higher platform. That's what I want people to get out of the book,
And so did John Joseph actually know him?
No, John Joseph follows his teachings too.
Okay.
So that's both of our spiritual master, our teacher who teaches us about life. Although he's not physically here, his instructions are way more important than his physical presence. So we both, read his books. And
did you ever live like as a monk? Like
yeah,
you did?
I stayed in a temple for a short time. John did too. John.
Yeah, he was in Hawaii, right?
Yeah, he stayed in the Hawaii temple. He stayed in the New York temple for a little while too.
What is that like?
It's rising early in the morning, taking a cold shower.
It had to be cold.
Well, it excites the senses, wakes you up. It's good for the immune system. There's a lot of reasons why you take cold.
Do you do that now?
Yeah.
Really?
I like to hit it lukewarm to start, but then before I'm getting out, I put myself through a little bit of torture. It's good for controlling the
One
body.
time I was broke, the gas was off. That's horrible. That's all I'm saying. That's horrible.
It burns brown fat. The brown fat, the visceral fat around your waist, it just...
It burns it off? Cold showers do?
Cold showers, yeah.
It burns the fat around your waist.
Burns, yeah. Boosts your immunity, boosts your metabolism. You read about, we'll look at the Iceman, Wim Hof, and hear what benefits you get from cold showers or ice baths or doing cryotherapy. I do a lot of cryotherapy.
What's that now? What do you mean?
You stand in this booth. It's like a big telephone booth looking thing. But
like LeBron James was doing?
Yeah, exactly. So
You have one of those?
No, I go to a place called Restore in Lakewood.
Okay.
And you stand in there for 3 minutes. That's all they'll let you do is 3 minutes, and it goes up to minus 240 degrees, and you just stand there and breathe, and by the time you get out, body is frozen, but you feel so good. You get out, and that's cold shock proteins going in and healing your body.
So it's similar to taking a cold shower, too, a little bit,
And
huh?
it's also similar to doing sauna therapy, which is heat shock proteins. So they're both healing. Just need to know when and how to.
Yeah, I like the sauna. You say the infrared's better, huh?
Yeah, I have a 3-man clear light sauna in my house.
That's what I have, too. And then I miss, like, when I was young, I used to go to the gym, and they had one in there.
Yeah.
I say young. I wasn't that young. It wasn't that long ago. But I used to love it. That was one of my favorite. Probably right around the time you met me. I was probably going to there pretty consistently. But it was a regular steam where you'd pour water over the rocks.
Okay, so that's more for surface sweating.
I love that, though.
It is nice. I like that. I like steam shower type things, too. But at the same time, you want the best. I think far infrared sauna is the best. It heats you from within and pushes out toxicity.
I mean, that's what I have at home, but I mean, it's not what I wanted. That's just what I have.
It's great for combating heavy metals out of your system, too.
Heavy metals, like if you were, what if you were drinking, like would that have helped the people in Flint, Michigan?
Yeah.
Really? No kidding.
You know, dementia is caused, people taking aluminum-based deodorants and stuff. It's getting into the...
Yeah, what do you use? You got an odor to you that is distinctive to my mom. My mom has it too.
Yeah?
I don't know what it is. You guys are using the same something.
I do use essential oils.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's happened when she became vegan and like started doing that whole thing. And I noticed when I met you, honestly, the day I met you.
I burn a lot of incense too. So, I mean.
You walked past me and I was like, it smelled like my mother smells when she comes by the house.
I smell like an old lady.
Nah, not like an old lady. Now, my mom doesn't smell like my mom's a hippie, full-blown hippie.
Well, there you go. There's essential oils.
Yeah. She's a hippie all the way. Always had. My mother, I don't know if you know, my mother's a lesbian.
So was mine. Mine was too.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Is that true?
She passed away like 10 years ago, but yeah, she was.
Did she ever go to Kimbilio?
I don't know what that is.
Egg Moon Farms?
I don't know. But
Amish country, it was like a place for women that would go down there and they would have like a campground.
Maybe. But she lived with a significant other who's still in our lives. And, yeah. So, yeah, I didn't
Ask them if they did. I'm curious, because that's where my mother lives now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, okay. My mother and her wife. My mother used to be with a woman when I was younger, but they weren't married. Of course, you couldn't get married back then.
Right.
And then she got married to another woman that she had actually met down there at Egg Moon Farms in Kimbilio. Kimbilio was like, they had cottages and stuff, but they also had a big house with an indoor pool, and they had it was basically a lodge for all women. It was only women. And then Egg Moon Farms was the same thing, except it was mostly tent platforms and things of that nature where they just camped and things like that. And that's where she met her wife back then. And she's married to him today. And they actually, when that all broke up, she bought, to be part of Egg Moon Farms, you had to own a lot of it. You know what I mean? You had to own a portion of it, so everybody owned a portion. So they had their portions and bought some extras, and then they built a house out there, and they've been out there ever since.
Wow.
So,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's pretty neat where they're at. And they're stuck between Amish and Mennonites, and it's
cool. They're were they living off the land and stuff?
Nah, they got jobs. I mean, my mom she should be retired, but she won't because I don't know. I wish she would. It's much more peaceful. My mother quit her job. She had a job for a long time and quit it.
Oh, really?
Because they told her if she didn't like it, they could leave. And she was in the middle of a meeting, just got left.
Nice.
And then she went back to work. She didn't work for a while, and then she just went back to work a couple years ago. But I don't like it. I like when my mom doesn't have to. My mom shouldn't have to work. She works too hard anyways.
None of us should have to work this.
She's got all that land. She cuts grass. She goes out there, weeds and stuff. I mean, she just shouldn't have to work.
Keeps her young, though,
When you compare her to my dad, who, abused his body, though. My dad drank and smoked his whole life and not just drank. I drink a little here and there. My dad drank. He woke up. I remember going to work with him when I was a kid, and he'd roll out into the drive-thru at 7 a.m. and grab a quart of Miller, and start drinking, puke out the door, and just keep going. Geez. It was horrible.
Yeah, I bet.
And so his health is not good. It's not. But my mother, she's still working, moving around, does good. She's on Ozempic. She can eat meat now. She actually had diabetes, and they gave her Ozempic because of the diabetes. But the diabetes symptoms went away with the vegan diet, actually.
Yeah.
But
there you go. That says
they did give her Ozempic, and she does quite enjoy the Ozempic because she likes a good corned beef sandwich.
Read the side effects to Ozempic, though. It's pretty.
She goes to a lot of music. That's what I'm afraid of. They're going to find out that Ozempic is like, it's a fad right now, and I think it's horrible for the country to even be entertaining it. And then there's other people that go, well, I can't believe it's as popular. It's like, well, I mean, diet pills have been popular forever. So
yeah,
now you have one that actually works. It's going to be popular. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, people are vain, dude. They'll
do anything to look good.
Except work hard.
I know.
They won't do that.
It's true.
They won't do that part.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it. And I don't get that.
Yeah. Well, when you read the book I wrote, Motivate Me, a lot of people that have read it said, I want to do something with my life now. After reading that book, that was the biggest compliment I ever got was, after reading your book, I feel inspired to do something, and
that's awesome.
If you have a dream without a plan, all it is a dream.
Yeah.
But you got to make a plan, and then you need to execute that plan. You need to write down a schedule every day and be like, 4:00, I'm waking up. Because the people waking up at 6, I'm going to get 2 hours on them. I'm going to be ahead of the game.
How much do you sleep at night?
I should sleep more than I do. But I get it. I get enough to where I get good rest. I bought a Shiki futon, Japanese mattress. It's almost rock hard. But I like a real hard sleeping situation. So I feel good. I get up, do the cold shower thing. I do my morning prayers and my meditation and yoga and all that. And it's a yoga meditation. It's more chanting, mantras and stuff. And that gets the day started.
I seen that you said that in a book, that's like part of your running that system keeps you focused and running on a consistent. And I believe that everybody, if I was running that, if I took 1 month and did what you did, by the 5th week, it would just be routine and I would do it and it'd be fine.
Yeah.
The problem is if you get a week off, it's so hard to get back to it.
Like if you ever listen to David Goggins, he's pretty intense. He's an old Navy SEAL that runs these crazy 200-mile runs and stuff. He's nuts. But he's a big inspiration to me as well, though, like the way he just talks about, he'll talk about laying on the couch and looking and seeing his sneakers just sitting there, like, mocking him because he knows he should be out running right now. And then he's like, he just goes in the mirror and he's like, all right, bitch, let's go. Time to go. You're going to sit around and rot on that couch. And he goes out and he does it. And, it's like hearing people doing that. And I wrote about that in the book whenever I was going through, I had a torn meniscus and I was kind of rehabbing my knee. I would go to the park and after my workout, I would do a standard workout and then I would finish with cardio, running stairs up 3 flights, really like 4 flights in the parkway over there by Rocky River Park there where the beach is. And I basically sprint all up these stairs and then sprint down and do it like 12 times, no breaks, and I was like exhausted. I'm like, oh, man, all right. So I did 12. And then I'm like, I'm going to work my way up to 15 now. Next time I did 15 and a little bit more each time. And then I remember I'm up to like 25 or doing 30. And then, I start saying, and then I'm listening to David Goggins right at the end of my workout. And I'm at almost like, I think I got up to like 50. And then,
Jeez. Yeah,
and then I'm listening to him, and he's like, yeah. He's telling me, he's talking to me directly in this thing, 'cause he's talking to me, right? But I'm hearing him talk about he's on this 100-mile run to qualify for this 100-and-some mile run. So he had to run 100 miles within 20 hours or something like that. And he's in mile 70, and he's shitting himself, and
Literally shitting himself?
Shitting himself, yeah. And he's just wrecked. He's got 30 miles to go, but he wants to keep going, and then he's just talks his way through it, and he just finishes, and he finishes in time. And I'm hearing him tell that story, and here I am, 50 sets of stairs in, or whatever. So,
don't even have to fart yet.
Yeah. Right. So I push on, and I'm like, if David Goggins is shitting himself, I'm going to push this, and I worked my way up. And then I got it to the point to where I could do 100 sets of stairs, which like takes over an hour, and it's just nonstop running upstairs and downstairs, no breaks, It's just like, get to 60.
But when you work that hard, you got to put the rest in too.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you're working hard, you got to know that you can always go further, So he's talking about when you're feeling like you're falling out, you're really only at like 40%. It's that digging deeper and taking your mind to a new level and your body to a new level. And that inspired me that if I had that mindset back when I was younger, I could have, done so much more. But, the later we go in life, the more we learn. And I'm not about abusing my body. Like maybe once in a week, I'll do a workout like that. The rest of the time, I'm doing like good standard workout, getting oxygen going through my body. And
you never felt like you craved meat at all?
No. And there's so much like...
It's just a curiosity.
There's so much fake meat nowadays that like...
Yeah, but that's just like... To me, that's gross. I mean, just don't eat it.
Well, I don't really like it that much, but like there's like these mushroom steaks. It's just made from mushrooms.
Those are good, though.
Dude, they're amazing.
Yeah, those are good.
And they're like twice the protein of meat. There's no fat, no cholesterol. It's just straight up great. So I'll do that.
But those Impossible burgers and stuff like that, that's just gross.
Well, they taste like a real burger, but it's
not
just kind of like, but the fat content's kind of high, but it's still no cholesterol, and it's like better than eating meat, but that's junk.
They're not very
That's
tasty.
junk food, vegan food,
Yeah, I think that's part of what people have to just, like you did, just change your complete diet. So now you're not looking for a turkey, or you're not looking for a burger, or looking for a steak. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like I say with metal studs and drops and houses and stuff. Yeah. People are always deciding, they're trying to build a house out of metal studs. I grew up in a house that was built out of metal studs, believe it or not.
Really?
It was built in '63 out of metal studs.
They had metal studs back then?
Mm-hmm. Structural metal studs.
It was all 2x4s.
It was all push locked. There was push locks, no screws. It was push locked. Mm. They had like these plastic push locks that held the drywall to the metal stud. Oh. Yeah, my mother, when I remodeled her house, I didn't know that. I knew that the house was an all-metal home. My grandfather built it from the mill. And here in Homewood, the houses were built out of 2x2s. It's bad. Mm. You open a front door, and the walls shake, the windows shake. It's horrible. And
probably don't have proper cold air return.
No, none of. Well, most of that was actually underground because they're slabs. Mm. So most of that's in the masonry. Mm. So that's just all running, underneath underground. So it really, I guess, isn't affecting that. But at any rate, my grandfather didn't want that. So he bought what back then was called an all-metal home. So we had metal cabinets. We had aluminum doors, metal windows, and apparently metal studs. And I did a remodel in my mom's kitchen and found that out. I didn't know that.
Oh, really?
It had wood trusses, but metal stud walls. And it was something that the USS Steel built in 1963. And it was an all-metal home. And it was... But either way, my point is it was built like a house is with wood. And I always say that they make that simple mistake. They look at it, and I say the same thing with diet. You look at a meat eater or a carnivore's diet and try and replace it with vegan, and that's silly. That doesn't make sense. I mean, nutritional-wise, you want to do the right things, but you don't have to eat a steak or a turkey or whatever it is, a tofurkey or whatever you want to. It's silly. Just eat what you eat.
You don't need to.
You go to India and eat, like Indian restaurants, you could eat there all day long, and it's fantastic. It's great food. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, that was part of my transition is I learned how to cook Indian food when I first got into Eastern philosophy. Yeah. And it was a very famous woman who taught me. So I was learning from the best, so it was an easy transition for me.
I have a lot of friends that are like Indian and Muslim and stuff like that. And I've been to Indian restaurants with them. I have one real good friend that's Indian, Ben, but Yeah, he's taking me. It's hot though. Everything's so hot. It's too hot for me.
Yeah.
I don't like that heat. I'm a wuss when it comes to heat.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything was hot, but it's very good food. I mean, amazing food.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's cool. It's interesting. But I mean, that's why I asked you about the sleep, because I noticed in the book you said that's the free clinic. Rest, sun, and something like that. You said.
Yeah, you have to get exercise. You have to get sun. You have to nourish yourself. Probably do a good workout. There's a little bit of everything that, in moderation, like you're saying. You have to get enough rest, though. Like, if I take my telephone and I run it till the battery's dead, if I don't put it on the charger, it's worthless.
Sure.
So it's the same with these bodies, and the same with our conscience, our consciousness. It's like you got to air that out a little once in a while. Take a nice walk in the woods.
How do you do that when you're so far behind?
What do you mean?
Like me, I'm always in the rears. Of course, I put myself there most of the time, but
it's what you prioritize your life with, though. That's the thing. We have choices with everything. Like, I know that I could have come here and talked with you today, or I could have sat around on the couch or whatever and done this, but it's like, I want to be productive today.
Sure.
So you make stuff happen. When you see a little window of your day that you can fill, you can either be lethargic and brainless and sit there and scroll on your phone and look at reels all day or TikTok, but you're just creating a blob of.
Yeah, it's useless. Most of it is.
Yeah, like in the book I talk about, that damn cell phone. Everyone's so engrossed. Like, I was at the Tribe game back in the day, and this guy hit this screaming line ball down the left field line, and there's this whole row of kids all on their phone, and the ball came zipping through and hit the one kid and bounced off them. Two of the kids didn't even know it got hit to them. They're just still farting around on their phone. But, it's like everybody's got their phone. They go to concerts, and they're sitting there filming the concert, and it's like we have to live these lives before we can go home and relive them. Everybody
it's
wants
not going away, though.
Oh, I know.
It's not.
Just
Unfortunately,
worse.
It's not going to go away, and that's something that bothers me. That's something that bothers me because I don't know how to deal with it. I have a 12-year-old, and it's just I don't know. My older kids, that wasn't really a problem as much. They were a lot of texting going on. They were doing a lot of that. So you would see them like go to parties and they were texting each other. It's like you're all at the same place, and that would bug me.
Yeah.
But now it's next level. Like now, I mean, it's just it's a part of culture at this point, and I don't know how you get away from it. I really don't.
Yeah, like society's so far gone right now. It's really sad. Like everybody's on social media, and it's like they do this all-star reel of what their day was, and they take a picture in front of this beautiful waterfall, and they take pictures of their food and like how great they look, and then their big $3,000 purchase for the day and everything, and everyone just sees the highlights of everyone's life, and then these poor kids are looking, they're like, my life sucks.
Yeah.
And then it's just one thing after another. People are falling out. Kids are getting depressed or jumping off buildings, hanging themselves, doing crazy shit.
What do you think would be the best way to motivate a 12-year-old? You have any idea?
Love them.
Well, that's a given.
You can lead somebody further than you can push them, so you love them, and you act in such a way that they want to be like you. That's why I try to inspire people with things that I do. Like this kid that I'm kind of mentoring right now, he's like, can you help me figure out what to do with my life, And I'm like, happy to kind of point you in the right direction, but, like, it's going to be up to you. What do you want to do? What interests do you have? He's like, well, I'd like to write a book. I'm like, write for 15 minutes a day. Review it the next day. If it sucks, don't use it.
Sure.
Find what you're interested in and do it, and see, I think that, like, I wake up in the morning, I do my meditation, my prayers and all that stuff, and that's what keeps me linked. It's like that's my higher purpose in life, and once that's all taken care of, there's other stuff I can do. I can focus on my career, my music, all this other stuff, writing books, touring, all that stuff.
I like the quote you say that this is what I do for me. You got to do what you do for you.
Yeah.
I like that quote, and I've used it a couple times since reading your book. Actually, I like that this is what I do for me, because this podcasting is what I do for me. I enjoy this.
You're good at it too. This
is what I enjoy doing the most. I wish I could get the digital and then technical stuff down a little better. I keep having problems with it, the here and there.
Go look back at Joe Rogan's first 400 episodes. It's slowly, you see this. Like,
see it climb
to where it's like perfect now.
Yeah.
You're way far advanced, according to most.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. It's what I like to do, and I when I talk about it, that's what I say all the time. I say, "This is what," and it's from your book. I took it from your book. This is for me, because that's a problem I have with. I'm a giver. I really am. I have kids, and I have my wife, and I got employees, and there's all these different and I give too much to other people most of the time, even though they don't realize it. You know what I mean? I'd split up a lot. Yeah. And this is the only thing I've done for me in years, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's great.
It's my favorite thing to do.
Well, like when you get on an airplane, they say the oxygen mask is going to fall in an emergency. Take care of yourself, then you take care of your loved ones.
Sure.
Because without your help, you fall out trying to take care of them. You're no good to help them anymore. You've depleted.
It's a good analogy.
Your ability
I like
to help. Yeah. So got to do you. Get up in the morning first thing and do you. And make sure, I always say start your day early. I get up no matter how late I work or how late I'm doing stuff. I always get up early and I get at that day, get after the day right away.
I've always done that. I've been that my whole life on act. That's just who I am as a person. Yeah. But when I was a kid, I was the only one on Saturday mornings, like looking for my friends to get up. Like, come on. You know what I mean? That's who I was, really.
I'd wake them up. I'd go up in the room, jump on their bed. Wake
no, I mean, I would be out in the neighborhood, like walking around, like when's somebody going to show up?
Yeah,
like,
right.
I mean, like
I remember, walking around. There's dew on the
nothing
grass.
To do. Yeah, nothing to do.
Everything's quiet.
Yeah. That was me. It's always
too
been
bad we
me.
weren't neighbors. We'd be out tearing it up.
Yeah, we'd have been doing some fun stuff.
We'd be like
for
the
sure.
young Marines out there, do more than all the other kids by 8:00 a.m.
I've always been that way, though. It's all my dad's that way. That's just kind of how we're built. I function on like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, though. I mean,
well, that's one thing that my father instilled in me too, was a good hard work ethic. Because I saw him busting his ass every day, and coming home late at night and still doing stuff around the house and taking care of family and everything. So I got really inspired by.
Is he still around?
Yeah, I'm going to see him Wednesday down in Florida. He's in
Florida,
down by Tarpon Springs area.
Nice.
I haven't seen him in a while, so it's going to be nice to connect with him, and I'm going to see my sister. So.
Oh, you got a sister?
Yeah, I got two sisters. Well, they're two polar opposite people, but
they eat burgers.
Oh yeah, they eat burgers. Two sisters. But like when we were growing up, my one sister, got into religion early on, and she kind of thumped me with it a little bit, and that kind of turned me off. I knew that I wanted to have like a relationship with God and figure out the purpose of life and everything, but the way she was delivering it was a little bit too intense for me. I appreciated the fact that she wanted me to be saved and wanted to help me, but I didn't like the avenue she took to do it.
Okay, I got you.
But we're pretty cool with each other now.
That's good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Are you going to go overseas again or no?
Oh yeah.
Do you have anything lined up? Or
I was supposed to go over in February. Now I still have to see if we can do it. We had a couple shows booked that kind of back burner right now. Plus, our bass player just recently said, hey, I might have to take a back seat because, he had built a house in France and working a lot and doesn't quite have the time to do it. And all of us are doing it more for fun anymore. It's not like, we're making millions of dollars and, You
never really made millions anyways, did you?
No, not millions. In our world,
I think
felt
that's
like millions.
I believe that, but I feel like it's like in that hardcore is a little. I mean, I don't think millions are there for too many.
Yeah, not in the hardcore scene, but a lot of the bands do pretty well though.
Yeah, I'm sure they do, but I mean, I wouldn't think it's that. It's just a certain. I know, and I'll be honest, I really have never been into hardcore in my whole life.
Well,
it's not my thing.
One of the things was, our first tour when we opened for Biohazard, we were told, okay, it's funny, our record label, they said, hey, we printed up some tour shirts. We had our own tour shirts that we brought with us. And they're like, we want to sell a shirt too to help recoup some costs. And we're like, okay, cool. So they show up with our tour dates on the back of this tie-dye shirt. It was a tie-dye shirt for a punk rock hardcore band. We're like, what are you doing? And I can't remember. It was one of our EPs artwork on the front. And we're like, oh my God. Like, this is.
You felt like a true sellout.
No, we just felt stupid. We're like, tie-dye and hardcore does not go together.
Sure.
And we're like, oh, first show, everyone just gravitates to that shirt. And they're like, we love it. And we're like, what the hell? Yeah. It was, I'll show you, man. It's so funny.
That's the one they loved, huh?
They loved it.
So their marketing guy knew what they were doing. Evidently,
to
right?
This day, and everyone loved those shirts. Everyone was like, we need more of those.
We had a girl that worked here. She was a dishwasher, an older lady.
Yeah.
And she had a black Madhouse Bar and Girl shirt that I think she accidentally bleached in her laundry.
Yeah.
And she comes in and it looked like almost like a tie-dye camo type look to it. And everybody would see her and go, I want that shirt. Where are those ones?
So that just goes to show that sometimes just because we think something's not cool,
right.
maybe we're the ones that aren't cool. So
we're getting old, so that's
you
true.
See
probably.
That? Vinnie Paul from Pantera is wearing one of the tie-dye shirts.
Oh, I see it to the left there. Yeah, I could see it to the left there.
Yeah, it's terrible, like a terrible shirt. But everyone loved it, and the dude from Faith No More was wearing it. Jim Martin, the guitarist, was wearing it in pictures, and just so many people love those shirts.
I'm with you, though. That's a horrible shirt.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the one they liked, huh?
You go on eBay every once in a while and look up the Spud Monsters. You'll see some of the tie-dye shirts going for like $400.
Holy crap.
Yeah, some of our old 7-inch albums, $300. It's like, whatever people like. They're not even really good albums. The little 7-inch is because of me. I thought I sucked at that time. I was trying to find my voice, and I didn't do so great. But
what was your favorite music? Always hardcore? Because obviously you listen to Twisted Sister. That's not really hardcore.
No, I listened to rock and roll growing up. Loved it all. I liked Fleetwood Mac. While the punk rock bands were like, fuck Fleetwood Mac, I was like, what's wrong with that? I like radio music, like stuff that I was hearing. I like Rolling Stones and the Doors and stuff like that. I grew up on Zeppelin and Hendrix and.
Yeah, I hate these music snobs that you come up and they're like, oh, that's so mainstream, and it's like
it's mainstream for a reason.
It's what people like
to people. Yes.
Yeah.
But they like to have something that just a handful of people like that makes them interesting because they have a small little.
Yeah, they're like food, or they're like they're like music snobs. I call them music snobs.
That's
for
what
sure.
they are.
Yeah, that's what I call them.
Yeah.
But I've listened to some of your stuff. It's enjoyable. Some of it is I've listened to. I like the newer stuff, but only because it moves away from the screamer of it. You know what I mean?
I pretty much just sing now. I have some attitude still, but I mean.
Oh, you're so intense though. I could see where being I would love to be at a concert. I'd love to. It's just you could just tell that it's just awesome.
When I get off stage and I'm just drenched from head to toe, and I feel like I just got a full body massage because I just feel like that was my therapy for the past hour.
Well, I'm sure it feels good too. You got to be on a high cloud at that point.
Yeah, when you're up there doing what you love and you're expressing your mind. All my lyrics are me expressing things that mean something to me.
Yeah.
Early on, I was in the Spud Monsters, and the old singers used to kind of write goofy lyrics, and singing those songs are fun and it's cool, but like when I started really like writing my own lyrics for that band and when the other bands that I did, that's when I went from just yelling about stuff to like really expressing my heart, and to this day I've written a couple hundred songs, and it's like I'm running out of lyrics, like Henry Rollins says, I'm running out of lyrics, so maybe it's time to hang it up.
Well, who's your favorite non-hardcore new artist, though? Like somebody out right now that's coming out that you like?
There's a band called Turnstile. They're considered hardcore, but they're not. I mean, they're just a good band.
Turnstile.
Turnstile. They're really a good band. A lot of people in the hardcore scene are like, oh, they're sellouts. It's like, no, they're good.
Yeah, right.
It's like, I don't get it. I don't know. You don't have to bark every song, and every song, it's like they're good, talented musicians that have high energy on stage. They're just a good band.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Do you like any well, you said Fleetwood Mac or anything like that? Do you like anything like that
I like
today?
Faith No More a lot. That's a band that I always come back to. Faith No More. What a great band.
Yeah.
Just, it could bring it to you heavy and fast and right in your face, but at the same time, then they're singing like friggin' Commodores covers, Lionel Richie.
What about Norah Jones? You like Norah Jones?
I don't know.
Ooh, you don't know Norah Jones?
No.
Sail Away With Me? To a Different World? Oh, man, that voice. She sounds like
I was thinking of...
no, she sounds like a...
I was thinking of Christopher Cross. Sailing.
No. she sounds like she's singing in an old, dirty hall and a piano.
Like
it's just
little rasp.
Voice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. She's so that
was like Amy Winehouse kind of had that vibe,
And Jesse Murph does now too. That new Jesse Murph does, but Jesse Murph's a little more popular than Norah. But man, I love Norah Jones. Oh my God,
I like that vibe a lot.
Yeah, that's a cool. That's my relax. That's how I relax. I like to listen to Norah or something like that.
I like reggae. I love a lot of reggae. Like even the Bad Brains, the band that I auditioned for, I wrote about in the book. That's a band that was right in your face, Rastafarian hardcore. This is black dudes with dreadlocks that are smoking ganja or whatever, They're playing punk rock hardcore, which was like mind blowing. These dudes are playing punk rock, and then next song they do, they just break out this really chill like reggae song. It's like, wow.
Do you smoke weed?
No.
I mean.
No, I don't do any type of intoxication. The last thing I did was in 1995. I drank my last beer ever with Kirk, the singer of Crowbar.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a band, Crowbar?
Crowbar. Oh, yeah, they're great.
Really?
And he also plays in a band called Down with the singer of Pantera.
My cousin my mom's maiden name's Crow.
Yeah.
So my cousin down in Pittsburgh area, like in East Liverpool type area, he's got his back garage turned into a bar, and it says Crowbar. That's funny.
Nice.
I have to check that out and see who that is exactly, because I have to send him some music of
Crowbar's
it.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. All right, I appreciate you coming in. This was fun. This is what I was hoping for. Just sit back, relax, talk like you. The thing is, to me, is still amazing is how chill you are, and then you watch you on stage and you go, "Wow, how can that be the same guy?" I'll never forget the first time I went home and I'm looking through and I go, "What in the hell is this?"
Well, if you put on some of our music right now, I might mess this place up.
Nah, don't do that. Don't mess up the place. I've put too much into it.
I'm all chill. I'm pretty laid back. It's like I said, the music puts me in a whole different zone. Puts me in a whole different sphere of what you'll ever.
You ever fight?
I was a boxer for 20 years.
No, I mean like just be out and about getting a fight.
Yeah, early on in life, but that was just me being ignorant or responding to somebody else's ignorance. But I used to like sticking up for the underdog. I'd see a kid getting picked on in my high school. My first day at Brunswick High School, where I had gone to school, there was this jock wrestler guy picking on this skinny little kid. And I just went up. I'm like, "Hey, what's going on? Everything cool?" The guy's like, "Fuck you, you got a problem?" I'm like, "I want to make sure this kid's not getting picked on." And I said, "Well, there's two of us against you right now then." I knew that kid wasn't going to help me, but I wanted to stand up and help him,
Yeah.
And the teacher came up. The guy didn't mess with me, though, because he saw I was willing to stand up and fight for him.
That's part of your philosophy, too, like the Indian, that, isn't it? Or no, am I wrong?
What, to stand up for yourself?
No, to not. Like to turn the other cheek, as they say.
Yeah, but, when you see injustice, you have to stand up and do the right thing, So, like, I will, it's like I was just talking the other day. People are like, "Oh, don't you miss eating meat?" And I was like, I can't justify killing an innocent living creature just for 10 minutes of pleasure on my tongue. I
What if they die of old age?
Well, then you could use that leather for, it's called a Himsa leather. It's nonviolent leather. So you can use it if they die natural causes. You cut up the leather and use it for whatever, shoes or, you know.
You're okay with that then?
Yeah, because it's nonviolent.
I got you.
But, you know, you don't necessarily kill stuff. I can't understand that, you know, doing that. So it's like if an animal comes up, a dog comes up and it's attacking me, kill it, whatever. But I'm not going out of my way to kill a cow because I want to enjoy a hamburger or a steak or something, you know. It's just like, can't justify it. And
Yeah.
John Joseph's the one that, like, kind of, I overheard him talking to some kid backstage the first night of our tour. And I was like, wow. I was like, that's some heavy stuff you're talking about with that kid. And he's like, yo, enlighten yourself. He's got the thick New York accent. He's like, yo, enlighten yourself. He hands me this book, The Science of Self-Realization, and I read it. Blew my mind away.
Yeah, what's his book called?
He's got 5 books out.
But the one
Evolution of a Cro-Magnon, and then his second book was Meat is for Pussies.
That's it. Meat is for pussies.
And if you know him, he's just a badass dude, tattooed from head to toe, the thick accent.
Yeah.
You know, like philosophically, he's like focused, but like he's got a lot of New York in him, man. You get that guy upset, and you know, if you're on the wrong side of injustice, he'll mess your day up, man.
No kidding.
Great dude, though. Like a great guy, always. And he's another guy that inspired me, like, to stand up for the underdog, for the little guy, you know?
I seen something. What was it? Was it? It was him. I saw an interview with him where he talked about going out in New York, and there was something went on, and he jumped into a crowd and was sticking up for somebody, and then they finally. I can't remember the story. I wish I'd have to look into it, but there was something to that effect, though, sticking up to some gang members in the area.
In the book, I wrote about that.
Oh, you did?
I wrote about that.
Okay, all right, okay.
You know, there's some dude, Crazy Eddie, that he ran this, like, Puerto Rican gang, something like that. So.
That was you then?
No,
That was about John Joseph.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
I tell the story. That might be it. But, you know, like, they were outside of a club, and this gang was picking on a bunch of the punk rockers. And John was like asking people, why aren't people standing up to these guys? You know, what's up? You know, we got to help be righteous, you know? So, you know, he goes over, takes, you know, he stands up to them and starts a fight with them, this whole gang, you know? And, you know, it got like crazy, and he ran into the club, and they tried to lock the door, and he ran split, and he knew that they had, you know, they had his number, so they were looking for him.
Right.
He was expected to be killed, you know, so he stayed away for a while, and then after a while, he's like, screw this, I'm not going to, like, hide the rest of my life. So he went down, walked right in front of the group, right out in front of this club that was called the A7 Club. And he walks up, and they're all standing there. It's like, I'm here, what's up? You know, and they're like, and they were about to mess him up, and then Daryl from the Bad Brains came out of A7. He's like, yo, hey man, chill out. It's our guy, and he's good, and he was just sticking up for those kids, and you would have done the same for your guys. And they're like, oh, that's cool. So they squashed the beef right there. And they even said that Crazy Eddie dude was like, many years later, he was interviewed, you know, for some podcast, and he's like, you know, that crazy motherfucker was the only one that ever stood up to us. He's the only one that had the balls. So we got mad respect for him for life.
You told that story so good, I thought I heard it from him himself.
Well, he does tell it in his book.
I didn't read his book, though. I read yours, so.
He's got, like I said, he's got a bunch of books, and he's got a great book, Evolution of a Cro-Magnon, and that's like, that's really cool. He's got an audio book for it. So him reading it in his thick New York accent's hilarious. It's
yeah.
Like, what, you know, Adam Yout from the Beastie Boys did a review of the book. And he goes, 1 minute you're crying because his life story is like tugs at your heart. You know, he grew up in orphanages, and, you know, there's an old lady that was, you know, with a big mole on her face with hair coming out of it. Him and his brother were staying as foster kids in their home, and they treated him like dogs. You know, she'd like take Oreo cookies and like get all the white filling off and then spit it out or whatever and give them the filling. And she would just eat the cookie part and just give them the filling, you know, their spit all over it and feed them dog food and shit.
Wow.
So, like, he's been through some stuff, you know, so you're reading about this stuff, and you're like, man, this is, like, horrible. You know, you feel like crying. Then the next thing he says makes you laugh your ass off. It's just, whoa, all over the place.
I'm going to have to get that book before February and read it. Yeah, for sure. So I have some information
and
about it.
I have the audio, too. Hearing him tell this, it's like 4 discs, and it's just great.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. They're not on disc anymore.
You could go on.
Just telling you.
You could go on YouTube. I think you could hear each episode on YouTube.
I think that's called Audible. I think like it's like Audible book now. It's like what it's called, Audible.
I have a couple of the CDs themselves in my car, though. I'll throw it on every once in a while to laugh. It's like, he's just funny. But, you know, he gets intense when he's talking about his life, you know, because he's seen a lot of people get burned, and himself and his brother, and it's just crazy life.
I've never met nobody so extreme or whatever you want to call it. I've never, not once. I mean, when I just looked at a couple interviews after you mentioned them and looked into it. Again, I'm not in that scene of the scream music. You know what I mean? That was never my. I'm more of like I grew up on Michael Jackson and Prince.
Michael
you know
Jackson,
what I mean? That's like
one of my first albums I ever owned.
Prince was like, I was a big Prince. I went to see Purple Rain like 21 times, 22 times at the movie theater. True story,
True story.
Loved me some Prince.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, I mean, that's just how I grew. I loved R&B, hip-hop.
Yeah.
You know, that's been my love all the way through. And a little bit of rock and roll. And definitely, I was more like when it became mainstream. Like, I grew up, my uncles and stuff were all into like, you know, heavy metal and Motley Crue and all that stuff, hair bands, and you know, obviously even like what was it? What was the one they were always in? Metallica, you know. But then when Metallica come out with was One? Was the album One? I forget what it was. The one that became mainstream.
Yeah, that was it.
That's when I loved them. I was like, oh yeah, they're great. I love them.
I like the old stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. And my uncles and stuff did too, but it wasn't my thing. Well, when it became mainstream, I loved that stuff. I wasn't never was into that type of. But I do enjoy. I put yours on, and I'm like, I could see working out to this for sure. Run into this.
Yeah,
I can see
that. my one friend's like, somebody asked him, "What kind of music does he play?" He's like, "Ass kicking music."
Ass kicking music. Yeah, that's a good.
Okay.
That's a good sign for it. Yeah, I like that.
But it's positive hardcore. You know, it's meant to give you positive like vibes, you know, and give you energy, you know, because it's
you have surrogates here too, though, right? Surrogate band members here so that you could play locally.
Yes, yeah, I have guys that were in my other band, Run Devil Run, or my solo band, Foose, you know, that fill in, and we've done a few shows. One Life All In, you know, we went up, did like Jersey and New York City, did a show in Cleveland, you know, so. A couple of the guys from France flew in for the New York and Philly show.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and they always want to travel too, but you know, I want to build a substantial tour before I have people coming over. Yeah.
Yeah, understood. Yeah,
yeah. 2 shows.
Yeah,
I'm willing to go over there to just play a couple shows, so it's not a big deal.
You just like doing it. That's all.
Yeah, and for me, it's just.
My wife just said, "Where's Lulu?" I told him not to bring not while Tipsy's being an adult woman for a few weeks.
A woman.
She called me the other day and said Tipsy's a woman.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, so she found out that she was bleeding all over. Oh. She picked her up and she was blood all over. And I'm sure yours is the same way. They can't reach their stuff to take care of it themselves because of the way their bodies are or whatever, like the bulldogs.
Spark plug body.
Yeah.
That's funny.
They're a mess, those dogs, for sure. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was cool though. This was fun. I enjoyed it. This is what I've been looking forward to. I've been wanting to get you on here. And the one thing I loved at the end of the book that you did, that, you know, yeah, you got it. Yeah.
That's how I know if somebody read the book.
Yeah, that's and
always the first thing somebody writes to me. They're always like, "Dude, you got me." You send me that text, I'm like, it's nice to know you read the book.
Yeah, that was great, because that was especially we did it at Maroos Brothers all the time to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that was the thing.
Always got to be below the waist.
Yeah, it's got to be below the waist, right? Yeah. Yeah, Brandon appreciated. I sent him a picture of it. You remember Brandon?
Brandon Fair?
Fryer.
Fryer, yeah.
Fryer, yeah.
Fryer, that's right.
Fryer, yeah. That was my ex-brother-in-law.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. That's how we all knew each other and everything. But yeah, Brandon's somebody I stay in touch with.
Oh, yeah.
Consistently. Cool. Yeah, he's a good dude. He's a real good dude. He's not giving up meat, though. I promise.
Yeah. Believe me, with today's diets, like the food spectrum, I mean, you can like do so much without having to incorporate meat in there. I don't miss it at all. There's like nothing to miss.
You know what? Honestly, if I'm being honest, I'm too lazy. I'd be okay with doing it.
But if you want to go in the kitchen and cook a burger, you still need to take some time to prepare something.
I don't want to do that.
But what, do you just want to go get fast food?
No, I got to cook downstairs all full time.
Well, have your full-time cook make you some plant-based protein and feel the difference.
My wife just said Brandon loves the meat.
Yeah. Brandon loves the meat. He's going to love to hear this, huh?
Yeah, he always listens. He listens while he works, usually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's cool.
Him and her go at it. She started with him one day, like when she first moved in with me, and she doesn't know him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's one that you don't push. Brandon, he's not going to lose. Brandon, it don't matter what happens at the end of the day, he's going to push it too far, I promise. That's who he is as a person. That's just always been that way. So she started, I think she might, I forget, I wish I knew the story. She smeared something on him and it turned into a whole big blow up at the house one day. Not that they both are okay with it because they're both assholes to each other. So it worked out great, but
that's funny.
So we're going to put this out here for everybody. Motivate me. All right. And you see he's got a kale shirt. He's promoting that kale. He's loving that kale life. I had some kale chips that were really good. Yeah,
I got the recipe in the book here for the kale chips, and that's what people say as far as like one of their favorite recipes is the kale chips recipe. So bring that up.
Yeah, those were really good.
Yeah, that's the recipe for the kale chips right there.
That's in the book Raw Life.
Yeah, that's a favorite by a lot of people.
And you know, the Raw Life isn't only food though. You give some other beneficial things. Like I remember I learned that you said one of the best things you could do in that book was for sauna was one of the best. You talk about that in that book, I remember.
Yeah, and I show recipes for elixirs that you can take herbs and make teas and smoothies and stuff, and they're good for curing ailments of the body and the mind. And then there's juice fasting also, where you can detoxify your body and get back to good health and get rid of,
If I get rich enough to get a full-time chef, I'll be a vegan.
So what's her name downstairs? She's on the clock, right?
Yeah, she is on the clock, yeah. She had to learn all of it. Dude, summer, she'd have to learn it all.
Get a masticating juicer. Get your juice done every day. Bottle it up. It's good for probably like 2 days because if you use a masticating juicer rather than a centrifugal juicer, then better.
So what is that? It's just like pulverizing it?
Yeah. It masticates it at a cold press level. It's not heated up, so it lasts longer. A couple days. Every other day, man, just make a batch, get you through a couple days. You'll see a huge difference in cognitively and, just you can hear better, see better, smell better, everything. All your senses will become heightened and purified.
I believe that. I believe in adding those things, and I believe in limited. Again, I'm one of those that I believe in moderation of everything. I think that that's always the best thing for everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I would hate, like the old saying goes, to be, in a car accident, laying there bleeding and thinking, man, I wish I'd eaten a burger.
Like they say, people that are on their deathbed, they don't say, I wish I spent more time working. It's like,
that's a fact.
Just know what we should be doing now rather than wait to the last minute and be like, oh, I wasted so much of my life.
Yeah.
We spend so much time like trying to materially get ahead and all this stuff. And there's a story in in my book, it's a chapter called Post-Dated Check. I worked with this dude. He's an old guy. You know, we're working, pouring concrete. After 8 hours, a lot of us young guys, we were like, oh, I'm ready to go home. I want to go live my life. And this guy's like, no, you stay late, man. Like, I'm going to have $6,000 a month when I retire, and you guys are preparing for your future, and real men want to work, and you should, you know. At the same time, this dude's wife didn't like him. The kids didn't like him because all he did is wanted to work, you know. And so got divorced, and the kids were always talking crap about him. They didn't like him. And then he retired, and like a month later, he died. And the chapter's called Post-Dated Check because he kept putting all his faith and all his time into this check that he never even got to cash.
There's a story that happened around here. Do you remember I don't know if you might remember it. The gas station blew up on Broadway.
I heard about that.
You remember that?
Yeah.
That happened. There was a woman that came off the highway, her brakes didn't work or something. She couldn't stop. But when she hit, there was a guy that died there pumping gas at the gas station. He was on his way home from his last day of Ford.
Is that right?
It's something I've never forgot. I learned that happened when I was about 17. And it's something I've never forgot. Never. It stuck with me so hard, you know, in my life. That's why I never worked a factory job. I always worked construction. You saw me. I went to work. I'm a hard worker. I bust ass when I'm there. Yeah. But I haven't kept my jobs very long. I'll do a couple years, a few years, and I move on. Or I've had my own company for years. It's not me. And I don't live, I don't have the biggest, my house I have 1,400 square feet or something. I'm not living La Vida Loca, I promise. It's not. A lot of people think, oh, he owns a restaurant, he does this and that. This is something I felt I could do when I get older and I'm some more secure. And, you know, I thought maybe it'd give me some security and I enjoy it. I really don't enjoy the restaurant that much. I like this better than I like the restaurant.
Well, there you go. And that's the reason in that same chapter, Post-Dated Check, I tell at the end of the chapter that anytime I wanted to take vacation or coach my kid's baseball team or anything, that came first, you know? So I never went to my employer and said, can I have this time off? I always went in and said, I'm going to be gone the third week of March until this date.
Yeah.
I don't give them the option to tell me I can't do that.
Sure.
I'm telling them what's up. And if they don't like it, then I'm going to go work somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's the way I've always lived my life. I'm doing what I want to do. I'm going to prioritize my family and my friends and living life over making some guy a multimillionaire because I'm going to work 18 hours a day for him. It's like, it's not happening, you know?
I remember working for OCP. I remember hearing that they have an island. Have you ever heard about that?
OCP has an island.
Yeah.
And Geronimo they own a bunch of buildings in downtown Cleveland. They have the construction companies, and they tell what each one of them have. I know about OCP's island.
Yeah. And it's like, I was working for them, and I was like, I have a friend that owned a company in Hudson.
Yeah.
And I decided that when I heard about that island, I went, you know, if I don't know who owns it. I don't know who owns OCP. I don't know him. I mean, I've heard of him, but I don't know him. I know Joe. I know he's got a lot of money. I know he's done well, but I'd rather earn him money. At least I know him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's how I thought about it.
The funny thing they say that there's this business owner, has all his people at the end of the year party. He says, I just want to thank you guys for a great year. We made a lot of money and everything. And someday, he says, look at all these things that I have. I have a yacht. I have a big mansion, all this stuff. And if you keep working this way, and they're thinking, he's going to be like, you can have that too. And he goes, if you keep working this way, I can have more of that. So that's the joke, you know. If you keep working for me, then I'll even go bigger.
Right.
But in my book also, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson says, don't go and work 8 hours a day for some company and burn yourself out and come home and not work on your dreams.
That's what I'm saying.
He says, you're not tired, you're uninspired. So that's the thing. I'll go and work on my pension and make sure my kid has medical benefits and make sure I have an annuity. And, you know, when I retire, there'll be something coming in. Oh, that's first. But on top of that, I'm going to write books. I'm going to write albums. I'm going to go on tour and I'm going to see the world. I traveled throughout 23 countries, you know, and being able to go and play in all these places and have these relationships with promoters and the fans, or the friends, really, not fans, or really our friends, because we give our hearts to them and we have these relations. So that's where the real, I guess that's where the real prize of it all comes from. You know, it's like going and doing these things. We get so caught up with, okay, our job is everything, you know, and then you work until you're hurting and you're old and you can't move. Then you're going to go and see the world. Then you're going to go and do this. Hell, you can hardly move. Get
Right.
it now while you have life, while you have vitality.
When you say motivate me, is this because they motivated you?
Yeah, every quote
was
book,
somebody that motivated
something
you.
that
I was
motivated
curious if it was that or if you were
Yeah,
asking someone to motivate you right now.
it's kind of the same thing, though.
Okay.
Let this book motivate me from the reader's perspective too.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
I was just curious when I was thinking about it. I'm like, is that the case? I didn't know. It was fun. I think stupid shit. I probably think like different people don't think like I do, probably.
You know, the great thing about when I write lyrics too, when I write lyrics, I know what it means to me. But if you read it and you get something out of it that you can apply in your own life, take those lyrics and use them for what you.
Sure, yeah, that makes sense. Nobody's got the same story, so how could your lyrics match their life? Their life is different than your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I try to make sure that there's, you know, more than just one angle that you can get out of it.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I present a problem in life and I give a solution at the end. Don't give up. Be optimistic. Like Winston Churchill said, and I mentioned that in the book too, that a pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity, but an optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty. It's the mindset that when we see things with, it's going to be whether it's depression or if it's going to be bliss in the end. We know that we have to go through the fire sometimes to become strong, you know, so we should, anytime something really negative happens in our life, we might see it as negative, but know that there's something great that's going to come out of that eventually.
This too shall pass, as they say.
This too
shall pass. Yeah, that's a fact.
And look at all of yesterday's problems and depressions that we suffered in the past. We can't even think of them off the top of our head, technically speaking. You know,
right.
So everything will pass.
I remember when I went through my divorce, my first thing was I focused on man, I lost my house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm losing my truck. I lost my, this, and I don't get to see my kids, and, I did this, and then,
yeah.
And I did this for like a year and a half or something, maybe even longer, I don't know. It wasn't until one day I was like, I can't keep focusing on, I think it was Scotty Campana said something about the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror for a reason.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying that, and I thought, he's right. And I just kind of like, I never thought about what I lost again. I never really did. On occasion, you still think, you can't not. But, I mean, for the most part, I just, whatever. It is what it is. No big deal.
Yeah, in Eastern philosophy, there's this story about this great king. He was invincible. Everyone loved the king, and he had this
was
servant.
It King James?
No.
Just asking.
He had this personal servant who was just a street sweeper guy, just nobody, but he was his personal servant. So he would go and take this personal servant on this, what do they call that? They go on a scavenger hunt every year. So he'd take him into the wilderness and they'd go on a scavenger hunt. It was kind of for sport. And so his servant was a very godly person, had a relationship with God, and was always speaking about how God is great and all this. But the king was atheist. He's like, what are you always talking about this God for? Come on, man, let's just go have some fun and all this stuff. So he was getting ready to take his servant on the scavenger hunt, and the servant was cutting lengths of rope for the scavenger hunt, and he accidentally cut his thumb off, and he was, oh man, so much pain, and the king was like, oh, sorry that this happened to you, and this guy was like, no, it's okay, it was God's mercy. And he was just getting sick of hearing about how great God is, even in the face of adversity. And he's like, he got mad at him. He told his servants, his guards, like, lock him up. He's going to talk about this God, where's his God when his thumb got cut off? I'm going on the scavenger hunt by myself. Just feed him bread and water till I get back. He was just totally pissed at him. So he goes out on the scavenger hunt by himself and come up on this tribe of like Aborigines or whatever. And they were also on a scavenger hunt in search of the perfect king. And, oh, no, sorry. I fucked up the story already. The king cut his thumb off.
Okay.
But the servant was talking about how
Yeah.
it was God's mercy. And he's like, where's this God when I got my thumb cut off? So that was what happened. So they were on the scavenger hunt, and the Aborigines were looking for the perfect king for a sacrifice. They were going to cook him alive and everything when they noticed that he was missing a thumb. So he was considered non-perfect.
Sure.
So they had to let him go because it was
Everything
perfect.
happens for a reason.
Yeah, so he goes back and he tells his servant, I'm so sorry. I was wrong. You were right. That happened. That was God's mercy, and that's why I couldn't be sacrificed. And how could you ever forgive me? And he's like, well, it's God's mercy. He's like, what? Why do you have all this confidence? I could have killed you. You're sitting there starving because of me and because of me being a numbskull. He goes, don't you see, if I was with you, because I was the king's personal servant, I'm as good as the king because I'm his representative, and I have all my limbs. They could have sacrificed me. So ultimately, it was God's mercy. So although he didn't see the mercy and the good that was to come out of all that at the time
God's
of the
plan.
adversity, the servant just had faith no matter what, that was what was supposed to happen. Work through my, depression, work through my difficult time, the storm I was going through. I'm like, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to get physically fit, doing like 500 push-ups a day and
Well, we all do that when you get divorced or when you separate. You all got to get
divorce is the best personal trainer you can have.
Got to look good, man. You got to look good.
It's not even about looking good. It's almost like you're punishing yourself to a certain degree, but not. It's not punishment though. That's that razor's edge. Okay, is it punishing myself, or is it working so hard on making myself the best that I can be physically and mentally that I'm going to work through this and come out on top better in the end? So physically fit speaking, man, I was just pushing myself beyond, when I'm running those stairs, I was just like dead, but I was like, I'm going through it. And I became mentally stronger than ever, and I love going through
divorce,
difficult times. Yeah.
That's the craziest thing ever.
I like going through difficulties because it makes me better. We get complacent when we're happy. And
hey, Amanda, I'm going to try and get better. No, I'm
going to try and get better.
I'm trying to get better here, babe. That's what it is. I'm trying to be a better me.
Yeah. But it does. It makes you better. We've all been complacent where everything's great at home, job's great. There's no adversity to work through.
You always hear it. The guy that goes, I had no clue there was a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've heard it a million times.
Yeah.
I had no clue there was a problem,
Well, when we get thrown into the fire, that's where we make our spiritual progress. That's where we make progress physically and mentally, just in life. All the challenges it throws at us. It really, really telling you. There's a story in the Vedas where this Draupadi, she throws her hands in the air and she starts praying to God. She says, God, just please bring on the calamities in my life, because that way I'm always connected with you and I'm in the right mindset. But, we don't think like that.
No.
Dear God, send me problems so that.
Yeah, no.
I mean, that's a real advanced soul to be thinking like that. I'm like, can you be chill with me just for a little longer? I'm cool.
They say that God never gives you more than you can handle, and
that's true.
He must think I'm a bad motherfucker.
Must have been Hitler in the last life. Jeez.
No. He just thinks I'm bad enough to handle it. Is all I'm saying. I've been through plenty in my years. That's for sure.
Well, Prabhupada, my spiritual master, said that this material world is full of irritating and embarrassing situations, and one must learn to be very forgiving. So, like, when I see people screw up in life or people make offenses towards me, I try to not be offended, but just give them a little bit of slack and be like, it's all good. We're all human, you know, but we got to try to learn from the difficulties that we put people into and the mistakes that we make. You know I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes in my time, but every time I make a mistake or I witness people being ignorant, you know, whether people are being prejudiced or this or that, being around me, you know, it's like I just try to see, well, eventually, you know.
Yeah.
Everything.
I don't know how you made it. Sounds like Yoda to me when you talk about that type of stuff. It sounds like, you know.
Yoda.
Yeah. Do you think that's where he was inspired? Star Wars, like they inspired Yoda from maybe that philosophy?
What's funny is I never saw that movie. And everyone's like, really? I never saw those.
What?
Yeah. I've just never been into like sci-fi stuff.
It's not sci-fi.
Oh, what is it?
It's not sci-fi. It's a love story. It's I mean, it just happens to be. Yeah, it's not live. No, it's not sci-fi. I mean, it is sci-fi, obviously, but it's not like Star Trek or something. Like it's. I don't know. It's a great. It's you should watch that. I mean, then start with the first one.
Oh man, I've tried like what's the hype, and I'm like.
It's just so I don't know if you would get it as much as you did like as a teenage boy.
Probably if I really got into it as a
you know
kid,
what I mean?
Yeah.
As a teenage boy, it was something really cool. Like just because your imagination was better as a teenage boy.
As a teenage boy, I was ripping farts with my friends and watching, you know, like Tommy Boy or something like that. You know, like that was my kind of movie.
Yeah, I like that too. I mean, I like that too. That was good too. But I mean, how old are you?
I'll be 57 in May.
Oh, well, you weren't listening. You weren't watching Tommy Boy as a teenager.
Well, whatever.
You were doing that.
I'm just saying
you were a lot older, dude. You should have grew up a little quicker.
Oh, you know, like I was into comedy and.
You should have been listening to like Cheech and Chong back then. Like that was funny shit back then.
Chasing girls back then. I didn't have time for TV.
Cheech and Chong I was at the movies.
I watched Cheech and Chong. That was funny.
Great shit. That was hilarious. That was good. Or Beastie, remember not Beastie Boys, Jerky Boys? You remember that?
Boys, the prank calls, yeah. I did a lot of prank phone calls back in the day.
I did too, yeah.
But I put them as bonus tracks on albums, like to where I would call sports talk shows and ask them questions about Don Foose, and just my guys in my band, we would laugh so hard because
really,
yeah, because these guys would be on air and they didn't want to admit they never heard of Don Foose. I'm like, yeah, did Don Foose make it into the Florida Marlins 5-man rotation? He did great in spring training. They're like, I don't know, I haven't watched Foose in a while. I got to look into that, and they're sitting there, they got their producer looking up Don Foose, and like, I don't know what happened to him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. Like,
was that inspired by Jerky Boys?
I don't know.
A little bit,
was
maybe?
Us, our drummer, Eric Matthews, would show up to practice late all the time. So
your drummer was Eric Matthews? Why does that sound familiar?
Because he plays drums in every Cleveland band.
Is that what it is?
He's in every band out there.
Is he on a radio station too or something?
No. He just plays in every band.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay. Yeah, that name is just like, as soon as you said it, it sticks out.
Yeah, but he would be late for band practice all the time, and I'd be like, I'm going to call the sports talk show and prank him. So I'd call, and we'd record it with a boombox. It was at this tape of all these calls, and it was so funny.
Where's that tape now?
Oh, I have them.
Do you?
They're hilarious, yeah.
That's awesome. You should release that.
Oh, I talked to Jeff Sindelar one time. I'm like, yeah, do you know if Don Foose is going to turn pro after the Olympics? I'm not sure what Don Foose is going to do at this time. You know, it's going to be, he's going to have to talk to his management. They're fumbling over their words because they don't want to admit. I've never heard of Don Foose. This guy is in the Olympics. I don't even know who he is.
Right.
Makes them look like they're incompetent, you know, like sports talk show hosts.
That's hilarious.
So, yeah, I'd be like, yeah, you know. Yeah, that was always what happened to Don Foose. Oh, yeah, Don, what about the guys that are going to be fighting Mike Tyson when he gets out of prison? You know, like Axel Schultz or Don Foose, for instance. What do you think of Foose? Yeah, well, you know, Foose, and they're fumbling over words. It's so funny. And then I'd be like, oh, yeah, well, I say if Don Foose punched you in the nose, do you think it would hurt, or you think because he hit your mucous membrane? Like, what? Oh, and then my best one was whenever I was talking to what was it? He was the main sports talk. Oh, Trevisano. I called him.
Oh,
I said, I want to play word association with you. He's like, word association, okay. I said, I'll give you a player from each sport, and you give a real short description. And I was like, Oscar Gamble. He played for the Indians back in the day. Big afro. He's like, afro. He's like, all I remember is that guy's afro. And then it was right when O.J. killed his wife, allegedly. I said, O.J. Simpson. He's like, sad. Will Chamberlain, man ahead of his time. Don Foose. And there's this real long, uncomfortable pause. It's just dead silent on the air. Oh. I said, Don Foose. And you can hear my guys from the band laughing in the background. He's like, Don Foose. I'm like, yeah, badminton. He's like, what? And we're just all laughing. And so we got all these on tape, and they're just funny, you know. And so people would be like, I was driving home, and I heard that phone call. It started kind of like people were expecting me to call in all the time. So,
yeah, that's pretty awesome.
That's funny.
Well, we've been at it about 2.5 hours.
Oh,
that was a pretty long. It goes fast once you start getting into and just talking, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna get off of here. I got to go probably get something to eat. Some beef in my system. No, I don't think I can. Honestly, there's a recall actually right now.
Yeah.
And they're looking right now. They're looking. We just found out about it. They're looking to make sure that none of it's ours. Man. She just texted me and said that that's not the case. But so hopefully that's true. But that's never a good sign. Yeah. But you could get that with vegetables too. Yeah. I mean, that can happen with vegetables. Don't be blaming me. No.
Hey man, I don't preach. I let people know what works in my life. Like,
I've never had you preach to me about it at all.
Ever, no.
But I am inspired by you 100%.
Thank you.
Ever since I met you, I thought you were interesting, inspirational, and I'm just a genuine good dude.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate you having me on today. And I'd look forward to doing more stuff with you. You're a good guy, and you've always been one of my favorites. You know, you've just been. Anytime I see you're smiling, you're always just a genuine good dude, and I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
everybody go out and motivate me. Yeah. Motivate me with Don Foose.
Yeah. Thank you.
And if you get a chance, get Raw Life. They'll teach you at least some juice, and you can still eat a steak and have a juice.
No, you can't. False information.
All right. Peace.
Thank you.
It's not working. I tried. We're going to go with my music.
That's awesome.